Hello dreamers, and a warm welcome to my lore video, delving into the enigmatic depths of the void. Settle in and get comfortable, but heed this caution. Tread lightly into the silent expanse, and resist the temptation to delve too deeply into your thoughts. Maintain a tranquil state of mind, for within the void, the power of imagination can birth unforeseen horrors. So relax and join me as we navigate the mysteries of the void. In essence, the void stands as a parallel dimension to our own. In contrast to popular depictions of alternate realities, the void is not a bizarre or mirrored version of our reality. Instead, it manifests as a vast sea of pure emptiness, a boundless expanse of nothingness characterized by its essence of pure energy. Unlike other dimensions, the void functions as a blank canvas, devoid of distinct features, offering an intriguing departure from conventional portrayals of alternate realms in today's pop culture. In the early days of its discovery, the Orokin merely observed the void, and with it, any abnormalities that came from it. It wasn't even thought of as a usable resource until an Orokin scientist named Albrecht Entrati theorized it could be used for space travel, and hypothesized a wormhole type of technology, allowing one to cross massive distances in mere seconds. This was of great interest to the Orokin elite. However, they failed to develop a method to harness the void. Albrecht tried and tried, but failed miserably, until he was on the verge of abandoning the project altogether. With only his daughter Valeria, his dear assistant Lloyd, and his pet Kavat, Kalimos, still on his side, he finally decided to use himself as a test subject. Using an experimental doorway to the void he created, called the Wall of Loke, and a unique vehicle only known as a bell, Albrecht entered the void. The bell is a very unique vehicle. At first, I thought it was completely foreign. However, during World War II, it was rumored the German Special Science Division created a vehicle to travel through time and have anti-gravity properties known as Die Glocke, or the bell in English. It would seem Albrecht's invention is a creative nod to this real-world conspiracy theory, which may serve as foreshadowing for the man himself, but I'll explore this further in my video focusing on Albrecht himself. However, things did not go as planned at all. The bell came loose during the entry and collided with the sides of the wall, causing the stair glass to shatter and severely damaged Albrecht's body. Not only was he wounded by the shards of the glass, the bell being compromised meant his own body was now exposed to the void itself. From the wiki, while inside the void, Albrecht saw a vast sea of white light pierced by black stars, a flowing, colorful vapor twirling around him, whose source was in fact the wall he came through and his own head. This is not unlike what Arteno saw at the end of the War Within questline, when Arteno drinks the kuva. This vapor, Albrecht mentions, seems to be the smoky, almost liquid substance seen swirling in the void, easily seen during railjack jumps and even when viewing the void from the star chart. The events and specific details that followed, I, again, will be saving for a future video on Albrecht himself, so stay tuned for that. Some time has passed, and the Orokin became quite proficient in void technology, developing light skippers, field wave skins, and varied-eyed instruments, as well as understanding the liquid known as kuva. It is speculated whether the Orokin knew of kuva before the void, or if the void introduced them to kuva, but kuva seems to draw its power from the void itself. Kuva was used by the Orokin to extend their already long lives by transferring their consciousness into a new body. It is unknown whether these new bodies were willing or unwilling subjects of the Orokin, or if they were younger, cloned bodies of the original host. I currently believe the latter, as images of various Orokin remain consistent throughout various media, such as paintings. The idea of transferring consciousness would later be used in other ventures of the Orokin, mainly by Archimedean Margulis and Executor Ballas. The energy within the void found practical application primarily in the facilitation of space travel. In alignment with Alberich's initial theories, the void's potential was harnessed to create gateways to various locations within the Sol system. This feat was accomplished through the utilization of a specialized device known as a reliquary drive. Uniquely designed, the reliquary drive extracted and manipulated the void's energy, employing an oversized, gnarled finger to achieve this remarkable feat. When the Wall of Lok was finally closed by Valeria, something tried to come through, only managing to force some of its fingers through. They were amputated by the sealing of the gate. These fingers were then studied, and when their use of harnessing the void was discovered, the Orokin quickly devised a way to clone these massive digits. The Orokin were master geneticists and gods of gene manipulation, having created their very own clone army known as the Grineer. This task was not outside their skill set. Having successfully created more fingers and creating the special devices known as reliquary drives, the Orokin quickly installed these devices in railjacks and colony ships such as the Zeramin 10-0. These devices allowed one to seemingly enter the void in one location of the solar system and exit in another, allowing almost near instant travel across space, tightening the grip the Orokin already had on the system. With their newfound ability to be anywhere, anytime, as well as the Kuva to extend their lives infinitely, the Orokin quickly realized their first consequence: the exhaustion of resources. While resources had always been a prized part of Orokin society, and were even warred over in the past, with the Orokin no longer succumbing to natural death and being able to harvest much quicker, they were faced with the ever-growing problem of overpopulation. So, the Orokin looked toward the horizon and set their sights on a new star system, Tau. While Tau remains shrouded in mystery to this day, the Orokin recognized the necessity of terraforming the system to ensure a habitable environment. In response to this need, the Orokin designed and constructed a specialized colony ship with terraforming capabilities, the Zeramin 10-0. The Zeramin carried a diverse array of passengers, including Tau colonists, adults, children, scientists, and high-ranking Orokin members. Similar to the railjacks, the Zeramin was equipped with a reliquary drive to harness the power of the void, facilitating faster travel to Tau. Unfortunately, this ambitious use of the void would prove to be the ship's undoing. From Ember Prime's Codex entry, 3 figures waited behind a simple table, their attention on a single chair, bathed in light. An old woman's voice from the shadow,
"Send her in."
Across the room, a security officer, stern and plain, opened the door. The outline of a young woman appeared at the door. She hesitated, but only for an instant, then crossed the room and sat. There was a gasp as the light hit her face. Her right eye was bright and blinking, but her left was a greasy slit. Her skin had been burned moon white. Her mouth was a sagging gash, without lips or expression. Her military beret was pulled snug over a scarred and hairless scalp. The old voice...
"Your name is Kayleen?"
Kayleen nodded.
"You were the principal investigator of the Zeramin."
Kayleen's voice was a jagged whisper, a rigid face. "Yes." Kayleen coughed and straightened. "The Zeramin was lost, making the fold from Saturn to the outer gates. Mechanical failure. I notified families and filed a report with the inspectors. Nothing ever returns from the fold, so I chose to close the case.
But you reopened the case days later.
I didn't believe it myself until I stepped aboard the ship. It was completely intact, full environmental, as if it had never left.
And the crew is gone.
Not exactly. Kayleen hesitated. We thought it was empty, but we began to find... Her face twitched at remembered pain. We began to find children hiding in the ship.
And that's when you violated procedure?
Kayleen bowed her head, a tear welling in her sightless eye. They were children. They were afraid. They needed comfort.
So you broke quarantine and this happened to you.
There was a silence as Kayleen touched her face. So what have you done with them? The old woman gestured for the officer to take Kayleen away. The meeting was over. When Kayleen reached the door, she twisted out of his grip and shot back. Why would you do that? Why would you put children on a military ship?
We didn't.
That would
violate procedure.
Consequence. Untime. The reason I state this is due to the fact that, until we conclude the events of the new war, the Zariman is nowhere to be found. However, it mysteriously shows up again after these events. And with the way the story has been presented, this makes absolutely no sense. How is it possible for a ship to vanish in the past, reappear a few days later, vanish again, and then re-emerge hundreds of years later? The answer lies in the fact that it never did. When we step foot onto the Zariman for the first time, no children are found on board. Only the ghostly echoes of children laughing can be heard. Even more contrary to what Kayleen reports, various members of the crew can be found in the makeshift main hall known as the Chrysalith. However, they are different now after being touched by the void. This, oddly and nicely, leads us up to the third consequence, conceptual embodiment. It was known, and even taught, by the cephalons aboard the Zariman, that thoughts and emotions held special properties in the void. With enough emotion, thought, and intent, one could manifest concepts and ideas into real flesh and blood. They could make them exist as tangible things in the real world. Therefore, suppressing one's own emotion through meditation was often encouraged when making void jumps to prevent this phenomena from occurring. I'll delve deeper into conceptual embodiment in my upcoming video on Duviri, and a future video on the Zariman itself. So for now, let's shift our focus to the fourth consequence, the Tenno. As stated in Kayleen's account of her investigation, when she searched the Zariman for survivors, she only found scarred and traumatized children. When she tried to comfort one of them, driven by this trauma of adults, the child lashed out with their new ability, severely damaging Kayleen's face. A fate that would similarly affect their later adoptive mother, Margulis. Because of this raw, untamed power the children now possessed, they were locked away by the Orokin, feared, and to be forgotten. However, after discovering the Tenno and their creation, Margulis took pity on them, eventually becoming a mother figure to all Tenno while finding ways to ease the Tenno's emotional pain and trauma. However, while Margulis was working with the Tenno to ease their suffering, her lover, Executor Ballas, was designing new machines of war. When the Zariman failed its mission, the Orokin were very quick to create an alternate method of reaching and colonizing Tau, and would eventually create beings known as sentients, self-replicating machines equipped with the ability to terraform. They successfully reached Tau. However, as their name implies, the sentients were extremely intelligent and realized the Orokin would eventually destroy this new system, just as they already had done to the Sol system. Refusing to allow this, the sentients return to Sol and launch an attack on the system, attempting to wipe out the Orokin. While Ballas's new creations were effective at fighting the sentients, they were unable to tell friend from foe, and would attack anything that came in their path. Margulis reached a breakthrough with the Tenno, and created what is now known as the Dream, a state of dreamy but lucid consciousness in a cold, dark environment, which helped bring their void powers under some control. But this was not before an incident when she was maimed by the same void powers which left her blind. After working with another Archimedean known as Sylvana, they created the technique known as transference. Similar to Kuva, it allows one to transfer their consciousness to another body, but rather than a permanent separation, the new body is simply piloted like a suit. Ballas eventually caught wind of this, and would later use his lover's research to finish his project, the Warframes. With this new development, the Tenno went from void demons to saviors of the Sol system, and were deployed by the Orokin to decimate the sentient fleet. They were successful, and caused the sentients to retreat to the Tau system, not to be seen or heard from for hundreds of years. Nevertheless, this choice would prove to be the Orokin's downfall. During a momentous ceremony, the Tenno, fully aware of the Orokin's betrayal, exacted revenge upon the elite members. The Orokin elite, along with any Orokin they could locate, fell to the blades of the Tenno. This event, known as the Collapse, served as the catalyst for the Empire's demise, signaling the end of an era that had persisted far beyond its prime. While this video has explored various concepts and ideas, it merely scratches the surface of the Void and Warframe as a whole, both figuratively and literally, and it's meant to serve as an introduction to somewhat set the stage for what's to come. I want to emphasize that the ideas presented here and in future videos are mostly my personal interpretation of Warframe's vague and speculative lore, and are not 100% canon. Yet. But I believe there is a main story to be told. As we advance through the lore series, we'll delve deeper into the repercussions of the Void, explore the mysteries of Albrecht and Tradi, unravel the enigma of the Zeramin, and uncover the true fate of the Tenno. The upcoming installment in this series will focus on Duviri and the Undercroft, examining its nature as well as its true purpose. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you'd like to see more, please hit that subscribe button. If you can leave a like on the video, it truly helps immensely, as I am a new, just starting out channel, and getting me into the algorithm more would be a massive blessing. Thank you again, as this was a really fun way to scratch my writing itch and to do something I really enjoy. I hope to see you in the next video, and for now, you can check out my live streams of Duviri Day 1, as well as my Whispers in the Walls and Chains of Hero Quest playthroughs, which contain topics that I will be referencing in this lore series. I hope you all take care, and have a wonderful day, Dreamers. I am the voice of the old ones, signing off, and I hope to talk to you next time.